Hi everybody, thanks for taking my dermaplaning class. We're going to jump right in and just get with it. So this is my client Rosie. She's in her late 40s. I've done this dermaplane on her repeatedly. She's a great candidate for this. Her hair comes up really easy. She's not overly sensitive, and generally we have a great time when we do this. So I picked her for my model today. And first, we're just going to go over any kind of contraindications that she may have for this service before we get started. So while the video is showing you me cleansing her skin and getting her all prepped and ready, I'm going to go over the contraindications. So who is not a good candidate for dermaplaning? Anybody who has moderate to severe acne breakouts, absolutely any skin cancers, cold sores, fever blisters. That can be a side effect of having dermaplaning done if you are prone to getting cold sores or fever blisters. Sometimes just the trauma of the service will cause you to have a cold sore some days later, so just be aware of that. We don't want to do a dermaplane if you have open lesions on your skin, if you're using prescription retinoids or retinol, retin-A. Absolutely, we would not do a dermaplane if you were sunburned, windburned, chapped in any way. And we for sure don't want to do it over any eczema or psoriasis. Some of the side effects of getting a dermaplane is that you might be a little bit red, and also you may have some purging or a breakout a couple of days later. So I don't recommend that somebody comes in for a dermaplane if they're getting married in a few days. If this is their very first time, you should always do a trial run at that some weeks ahead, just so that you can head off and take care of any kind of purging issues that they might have or breakouts. They'll know for sure if they like the way that felt, how their makeup laid afterwards, all of that. After you get a dermaplane service, it's best to avoid direct sun without sunscreen. So we're going to sunscreen our clients up before we let them go. No chemical or physical exfoliants or scrubs for at least 48 hours after you do a dermaplane, because you can overprocess your skin. But you can put makeup on right away, which is a bonus for us ladies. Now, if you're paying close attention when I was cleansing her face, I did start off with just a little bit of water. Then I used some facial oil. A lot of times I'll use safflower oil or maracuja oil or jojoba oil. And then I use the creamy cleanser by Skin Script. And normally when I do a dermaplane, I always do a double cleanse. I use the glycolic and retinol pads just to degrease one final step before we start on the dermaplane. So here we're going to get started. If you notice my first swipe with the scalpel, I do go down just a little bit and then I start to come up. You'll notice that I am holding the skin taut between my index finger and my thumb. I'm working towards the thumb. And really try to just pay close attention to how I'm holding the scalpel. You'll be able to see it better later in the video. But I try to keep it just really light in my hands. I'm not applying hardly any pressure at all to her skin. And you'll notice when I get around to the redder areas of her face, like right on the apples of her cheeks there, I'm exceptionally light there just because those little capillaries are super close to the surface of the skin, and I certainly don't want to over exfoliate there. Working my way up here towards her sideburn kind of hairline, you always want to make sure that you talk about that before you start into the dermaplane. Hand your client a mirror and talk about what they expect for dermaplaning around their hairline. A lot of times Hispanic ladies especially, or people who are of Indian descent, will have exaggerated sideburns, so you don't want to go taking off too much. You definitely want to talk about that with them before you get started. Also, a lot of times with the darker heritage in ladies, their eyebrows sometimes will actually go all the way into their hairline. So you really want to make sure that you have a conversation about that. Make sure that she's okay, that you're going to, you know, have a definite line there where you're going to see the brow pull away from the forehead or temple hairline there. Really, communication is just key when you're doing this. One of the things that people quite often will say that their clients may complain or ask about is that not all the vellus hair gets taken up, and that's absolutely true. So if you will prepare your client in advance and just let them know that, yes, we are going to take up quite a bit of that vellus hair. However, not all of it is going to come up, because this really is an exfoliation service. And that removal of the vellus hair is just an added benefit. So while the video runs here and you can watch me dermaplane there, I'm just going to go over some safety do's and do nots. First things first, use only surgical steel scalpels. There's a link in this course of the scalpels that I buy on Amazon. I do like them. They're inexpensive. And I get to throw them away when I'm finished. I do not have an autoclave at my spa. When I worked at a med spa, we did have an autoclave, so we used reusable stainless steel handles and blades. But here, it's just easier and cleaner for me to be able to dispose of them when I'm finished. Make sure that you're holding the blade on the designated finger markings between your thumb and your index finger. The other fingers are wrapped around the handle for safety and better control. Try to always keep your blade at a 45-degree angle to the skin. Always keep the skin nice and taut. You want to make sure and hold it between two fingers. Use a 1/2-inch backstroke when the blade is first placed on the client's skin. Do not lift the blade with strokes. Always try to dermaplane towards the thumb of the hand used to stretch the skin. Make sure the stroke is always between the thumb and the index finger, holding the skin taut. On this one side of the face that you're watching here now, there is a little bit of a blackhead there close to her ear, and it's really dry, and you see me go over it a couple of times there to kind of see if it'll pop up. It did not, so I didn't dig at it anymore. I just left it and went on. The top of it did kind of come off. Later you can go back and do a little extraction on that and take that out, which is what I did. Make sure when you're doing this that you're not afraid to move your client's head around. If you notice in the video, I gently pick her head up and turn it from side to side when I need to. It's really important that your body mechanics stay good while you're doing the dermaplane, so that you haven't broken your back by the time you're finished dermaplaning your client's face. So don't be afraid to move your body around so that you're comfortable, but also don't be afraid to move your client's head around so that you have a good view, you feel confident in holding them there and being able to work with that scalpel. Make sure also that you never pass anything over the client's face. So don't arbitrarily pass your blade over their face. Make sure that you have a full whole hand grip on whatever you are using so that you're not dropping anything on them. Any raised areas of the skin, so like if your client does have a little bit of a breakout, you're going to want to go around that many times. Ladies will have moles on their faces. You want to make sure that you go around that. One good thing right there is always tell your client when you first get them on the table that if they feel the urge to have to scratch their nose, sneeze, cough, anything like that, make sure to tell you immediately so that you can move away from them so you're not going to accidentally stab them with your scalpel or scrape them. She does cough a few times during this video, and you'll see. She just says something, and I move back just so she can do whatever she needs to do. Don't be afraid to stop in the middle of your service and get your client a drink of water if they need a sip. Sometimes it's hard on our throats to hold our head to the side like that for very long, and that may be what caused her to have to cough. But either way, you just want to be mindful of your client's comfort. So here we're going to work on her chin and lip area. You can see that I'm being very delicate through here. The skin on her chin is pretty thick and nice, very resilient. Don't be afraid to ask your client to pull their lips in to create tightness there around their lips, just like you see her lips. She tightened the bottom and the top up. And if you're going to over exfoliate on somebody, it's very easy to do it right here around this lip area. The area is very delicate, so practice that quite a little bit on your family and friends before you start taking clients, because you'll notice immediately at the end of the service that a lot of times if you have gone over it too many times, they'll have a complete ring around their mouth that's just really red. So try to play with that a little bit, be super gentle, and just know that that's a delicate area, so be patient with yourself. Make sure you practice on plenty of people. You know, one of the things that I always tell my students to do for practice is to use the scalpel around their own knee. So shave your own knee. Bring your knee up towards your chest and just work on it there. The skin should be fairly good and tight, but that'll give you practice for holding that skin tight and working around little knobby areas, because your knee can be a little knobby. And you're far less likely to cut yourself, but that's ultimately what we want you to do. Is we would rather you cut yourself than to cut a client. So practice on yourself. You can shave your entire legs if you want to with your scalpel. Notice how long it does take your blade to get dull. The hair on our legs is a little more stiff and rough than the hair on our face, but it is really great practice. Again, here we're just looking at doing her lip. Don't be afraid to have her relax or firm up her lip so that you can really see where you've exfoliated that already. And for sure, always invite your client to tell you that if they feel like they're getting a little raw, especially when you're learning how to do this, it's really important that they communicate with you and just be like, oh yeah, that's starting to feel a little raw. So move on to a different area. You will master all of this. It does not take a long time, but you do have to do it repeatedly before your brain kind of connects all the dots and you're able to do it proficiently. There, I'm just feeling on her skin, making sure I got all the places. If I find a little extra patch of hair or a place that doesn't look quite as exfoliated as the rest of her face, I will go back over that, which that's what you're seeing me do here. You really have the opportunity to shape their brows. Her brows are so we are getting close to finishing our service. We're going to put our little to follow that scalpel away, and if you'll notice here, her brows. If you're going to accidentally stab yourself with a scalpel, it's going to be when you're trying to put that cap back on. So an alternative to that is to just get yourself a sharps box. You can order one on Amazon. It's a box made specifically for lancets and scalpels and needles, that sort of thing, so that you don't get stabbed or poked with. anything, and you can put that container directly in the garbage. They're not very expensive to buy, and if it saves you from poking yourself one time, it was absolutely worth it. So after the Dermaplane process, and mind you, this is a Dermaplane only service that we're doing here today. I do follow that up with putting a little bit of jojoba seed oil on their skin, and then I do some sort of a quick nourishing mask. I really like the goji berry and yogurt mask by SkinScript. I use that as the finishing mask, usually with the Dermaplane service, because the lactic acid that's found in the yogurt is very calming and soothing after you've done something like a Dermaplane. So I've noticed that my clients typically don't break out if I'll do this little nice soothing mask afterwards, and it's a really great way to complete the service. It cools the skin, it cools down the redness. Overall, it's just a really great complement to doing a Dermaplane. So with my Dermaplane only service, I do include this last little mask step. I leave it on for about 5 minutes. I just really massage it in really good, leave it on for about 5 minutes, take my steam towels and take it off, and then we're going to do a little bit of toner, some serum, some moisturizer, an eye cream, and a lip therapy, and that will completely finish this great little service. Now, I do instruct my clients that it is perfectly all right if they want to go home and put on makeup later that day. There's nothing wrong with that. If you've done a peel on them with their Dermaplane service, then that's a different story, and we have a different conversation with that. But as far as a Dermaplane only service, they're totally fine to go on and put on makeup, have a nice evening out, do whatever. Here I'm just simply removing the mask. Please do encourage your clients to reach out to you if they have any questions, any comments, anything they feel like they need to talk to you about. In this course, I do give you editable copies of my aftercare cards. I send those digitally in a text message. So as we finish up watching this little video, animated, so I was going to add they pop up in their messages. I do have a couple more clips touch any of the little things. They can another Dermaplane that we did here, but it gives them just kind of a lowdown for what they should and should not be doing immediately following their service. A lot of times when people come in for services, doesn't matter if it's massage or facial or whatever it is, they're in a new environment, they're in a new atmosphere, and they literally only contain or hold on to about 10 to 20% of all the things you say to them. So that's why I love those little aftercare cards. It's a great way to just reiterate everything that you told them during the service as far as what to do, what not to do, and then it gives them the perfect opportunity and ability to reach out to you if they do have any questions. I speeded up this little section here just because we're finishing up the facial. I'm using a little toner, a little serum, some moisturizer, an eye cream, and a lip therapy. Okay, so here we have a different client. This client is in her 30s. Um, and we're just going to do a short little snippet here. If you notice how her head is turned strong to the left, and it really flattens out that jawline there so that you're not fighting the actual bone there of the jawline. If you hold that skin nice and taut, then it's just one smooth surface there where you can dermaplane right over it. Remember too that you are going to have to use different angles just depending on your client, how you're seated, all of that. So don't get too hung up on the direction of your scalpel movement on every single part of the face, because you are going to have to adjust that to each individual client a little bit. This last little snippet, I've included it because in my original video it was kind of out of frame where I was doing her actual chin. So I wanted to show you the chin area. It's very similar to what you saw in the video before where I was working around the mouth area. Obviously, the younger the client is, the more natural taut their skin is going to be. So it's not going to be as imperative that you hold the skin super tight on a younger person as it is on somebody who's going to be 40 years old or older. The more elasticity they've lost from their skin, the tighter you're going to have to hold that, just so you don't skip across and scratch their skin. Trish in this video is doing a really great job on her lip. Tried to get in there nice and close so you could see. But really, you just want to be gentle and thorough. Don't go over it too many times. And then again, always, always make sure you tell your clients, especially on the ones that you're practicing on, your family and friends, that there is a really good chance that you might scratch them, poke them a little bit. Just try to be really careful about it and very clean about it. You know how to wound care. And as you do this more and more, you will build your confidence and your competency. So just keep going.